All right, we are live.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Camille. So we're live this morning. We're doing our regular Friday morning live. I have a special guest. Our newest teammate here this morning is Phil Dodds. Thanks for doing this with me, man. Phil, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Okay. Awesome. No problem.
Tech issues.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been there like 9 times already today. It's a downside to being an old guy is this stuff just doesn't seem to work for me. But regardless, we do this every Friday morning, 10 a.m. We talk about a lot of stuff. Usually it revolves around industry updates, things we've learned, things we're working on, just industry in general. And then at 11:30, we do more of a specific to the company type webinar. And anybody can go join that at, what's the website? mfglearn.com, to get some more sort of company specific. But today on the lives, we take kind of a more broad approach, and then it kind of veers off into shiny objects and things from there. So who knows what we'll end up talking about, but regardless, I thought I'd open this up with, at first I want a little commercial. We're going to do I'm doing a webinar, and Phil, you and I have talked about this, but I'm doing a workshop. I shouldn't call it a webinar. It's a workshop that I'm doing with Phil Treadwell. It's kind of an interesting approach, and it's a coaching style that we've used internally. We've gotten great feedback. So now we're taking that out to the public, and we've pulled in Phil Treadwell to help us with this. And what it is it's an action planning workshop. Everybody's hosting business development workshops right now and business planning workshops, but this one's an action planning workshop. And I'm calling it an action planning workshop because it's a series over 30 days, 4 times a week for 15 minutes. So they're short, quick hit calls, won't interrupt your day at all. But at the end of each call, every call, total of a series of 20 calls, you'll have one idea that you can take action on that day. So at the end of it, you'll have your task for the day, and then you work on that particular task to develop business. So at the end of it, you'll have 20 ideas, 20 action steps, 20 different things you can do to connect with more clients and do more, serve more clients, serve more borrowers. So I'm kind of excited about it. It's wide open to anybody. The website for that is loactionplan.com. So loactionplan.com. To take you to the registration link. It's a Zoom link. You can sign up and do that at any point. So,
and I'm excited about that. By the way, for anybody watching, it's a different Phil. Okay, not this Phil. That's Phil Treadwell, much smarter man. Beard game's not as good. But anyways, you're gonna leave with a nugget a day. That's why when I was reading through what you guys were putting together, it's basically you come 15 minutes, you get a nugget to go implement in your business that day. And it's not just about serving more clients, but heck, it's about growing your business and putting more money in your pocket, right? So you can come hang out for 15 minutes each day and find a way to grow your bank account, here starting in 2024. So I'm really excited about it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for the feedback there. You've given us some great feedback as we're putting this all together, and I'm going to call on you a little bit more as we get closer. But I think it's huge. It's a free webinar, action steps. There's no sort of pressure. This isn't a commercial for the company. This is just our way of sort of giving back and helping people jumpstart. The industry's been a little hungry the last couple of years, and I think people are excited that rates are coming back in line. Hopefully inventory will break loose a little bit. So everybody's pressing the reset button right now to grow. And that's really what this webinar is about.
Well, you and I have noted, we've come from a different sector of the industry, right? And there's really a need for this type of coaching and this type of community, because most LOs are kind of just out there flying solo right now. They have a branch manager or a market leader or a regional who hardly ever talks to them. Right now they're mostly delivering bad news about how, we got margin compression, we're having to make cuts, and maybe they'll hop on a monthly call and try to give a rah speech, but they're not actually sitting down and helping LOs put practical business development ideas together to help them go out each day and grow their business, right? Because it's not, business isn't just falling out of the trees anymore, right? And it's been like this for 12 to 18 months. It's been this shift, but nobody's adjusted, right? So we have to get back to, blocking and tackling, right? And that's what this is. We're getting back to the basics, the fundamentals, and things that you guys can take into your business each single day and get results with. So, I mean, it's something that's a need, right? We're filling the gap.
Yep. And there is a gap. And you brought up a couple of great points there, which the gap is out of necessity in some cases with margin compression. Sales leadership has been squeezed out or forced to do other things, right? Sales leadership forced to focus on recruiting and focusing on metrics and right sizing the business. And therefore they're not spending time developing their people. Mm-hmm. There's also been, and this has been going on for several years, but this side industry related to mortgage, where it's, mortgage industry coaching. A lot of great coaches out there. I know several of them. Yep. But if I'm a loan officer that's struggling to do 4 or 5 transactions per month and I'm hiring an outside coach, it's great if you can afford it, but a lot of people just can't do the $300 a month or $1,000 a month or whatever the number is to get coaching. So in those cases, my question always is, well, if you're looking for some basic help and support on the sales business development side of your business, where's the sales manager? And yep. It's either he's distracted or she's, had to move on to other things. So I think it's, that's why we did it. I think it's going to be incredible. Super excited about it. And hopefully we'll get a bunch of people there. The registrations actually are kicking up already.
Awesome.
Starts January 15th is the first day. So all of that said, and thank you for your comments there, but Phil, you're brand new here. Is it exactly 1 week now? 2 weeks?
2 weeks? I think we're coming up on 3 weeks, actually.
Oh my word. Time flies when you're having fun.
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. You throw vacation in there in the middle of it. So
yeah. Holidays and whatnot. But there's Troy.
There he is.
We were having technical difficulties as usual. So
It happens. I was commenting when we started. That's one of the downsides of being the old guy. And I was talking to myself. I'm not talking to you, Troy, but talking to myself that it's the downside is that stuff just doesn't work for me.
Don't you love those? Don't you love those caveats when people say things like that? Not that I'm referring to you as the old guy, but
and not directly anyway.
If we were to line up in age, Troy, you'd be the first.
So Phil and I were talking about a couple of things here. We touched on the workshop, the action planning workshop that we're launching on January 15th. So we kind of went into a deep dive of the structure of that and why we're doing that. Mm-hmm. And then I was just going into, Phil himself, having been here 3 weeks now, newest teammate, and just sort of asking him why he joined the company. Why did you
join?
What did
he say?
Well, I haven't got a chance to answer that yet.
Answer yet.
So it's actually funny because I just had somebody a loan officer reach out on social media this morning and just wanted to know, hey, how's the new place going? Are you liking it? So it's like I had to answer this question via DM this morning already, but really it's the people. Brian and I, we had a connection and have a friendship, and that's kind of how I got introduced to the company. And then just getting to meet Troy and Craig and everybody in leadership, it's just the people here are absolutely amazing, and they're authentic and they're real, so that's like one of the biggest reasons. Just when I hopped on that call, I just really, really fell in love with you guys. And then from a business perspective, it's just, there's a lot of freedom. There's a lot of competitive advantages. You guys use Arrive, which I think is, from a tech standpoint, is just the absolute best LOS that I've ever used. And I just came from a retail shop that had a loan origination system that was, it was probably from the 90s. It was so bad. And when you go somewhere, or you're at a place and you get stuck using a piece of technology, that's your origination software is really important, right? And you use it every day. And when you use something that's really bad, it really takes up a lot of time out of your business. If it takes you 5 times as long to pre-approve a file because of your technology, if it takes you an extra 10 minutes to find information because the technology is bad, it doesn't make you as efficient in your business. It also just causes frustrations, right? And so like when you become frustrated and you are feeling negative about just your origination software, how does that affect and translate into the rest of your business? So like the tech piece with Arrive is incredible. And then the competitive advantage, I already in the last 3 weeks, I'm competing on deals and winning deals that I never even had a chance to even think about doing in the past when I was in retail. And actually I also worked at another brokerage that couldn't even compete. I mean, their rates were so bad. So I just have a competitive advantage, and like I'm getting to go after stuff that I didn't get to go after before, which is huge because it builds a reputation in your community, builds a reputation with your real estate agents. Maybe I'm not going to win every single deal, but the narrative has changed that Phil can go after and get things done for these real estate agents, clients that I wouldn't have been able to do in the past. So like those 3 things have been the most important part.
Well, and it changes a game when you have confidence in your product, right? When you have something you can effectively sell and have confidence in, you're doing the right thing by the customer. That changes everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
We start to, it's interesting because anything that you do in life, I've coined these two. I have all these, I guess you could call them Troyisms. They're phrases that I've coined that are kind of my own, but intent and intensity, right? Intent and intensity. What is the intent, and how much intensity can you put behind it? It creates the outcome. It's part of the consistent action formula that creates the outcome. So if you have a product, if you know that your rates are a little bit higher, or if you know that your system is not quite what it should be, or your team is not behind you, it slants your intent a little bit. You actually have to pull back. Instead of being at 100 with your intent, you have to pull back to a 75 because you're operating with a certain amount of uncertainty as to whether or not you're coming to the table with the best thing that you possibly can. And once you feel the level of intent that you're at, that directly correlates to the intensity in which you can take action and create things around you, especially in the business space. So once you realize that you have rates that are better, technology is capable, you actually feel a relaxing sensation inside. And that means that your intent is in alignment with what you need to be effective. You can increase the intensity and gives you the ability to confidently push forward with consistent action that creates momentum, that the outcome is more business.
Yeah, I have a feeling like I want every single at bat, right? Whereas before it's like, well, I didn't want to go after every single at bat because, 60% of the business out there, I probably can't even compete on. Right. So like, I don't want to focus my time trying to go after that kind of business. I needed to focus in this small little niche here. And now I feel like it's just everything. Like I can get everything, and everybody, I have the mindset that everybody should be doing business with me, every single deal. And so exactly. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then one other thing that popped in my mind that I really wanted to highlight is that, Brian had talked about the coaching, and what really has blown me away is that our president, Craig Messman, I know Craig's not feeling well, so he's not on the stream today, but he's the president of our company. And this last week, he probably spent 3 hours on Zoom calls with me, just walking through ideas, coaching. I mean, it's not like an official coaching program. He just took time out of his day, the president of the company, to sit down and invest in me. And I came away with like 3 actionable ideas to implement that would, jumpstart us for 2024. I literally got off the Zoom call that day, implemented all 3 things, and I have meetings. I just landed a brand new real estate team that we're going to now be their preferred lender, all just from the stuff that he poured into me. So like, again, we're not talking about the sales manager or the regional or the market or whatever, all these layers and managers that we see in some of these other models. This is the president of our company, doing hundreds of millions of dollars by himself, sitting down and pouring into me and giving me real stuff that's actually working. And then you combine that with what Troy just talked about, right? Where you're freed up and the belief is 100% to go out and just crush it and take everything. You put those together and now it's like, man, this is awesome. Where has this been all my life?
So that's one of the things that we've tried to cultivate here, and we on other calls and in other opportunities where we've had the ability to speak to folks. The difference between coaching and mentoring, right? A coach is just going to say, here's a script, here's a thing to do, here's a book of plays, here are these things, now go do them. A mentor is somebody that on a Saturday afternoon is going to sit on the phone with you for 3 hours and walk through the details and help you walk through how to implement them and everything like that. And all of us here are very geared that direction. I don't feel, especially in an environment like we have now, where there's so many folks that are just feeling lost because of the shift in business in so many different ways. The business is still out there. You just need some guidance, and that takes a mentor, not a coach. So unfortunately, you have all these folks out there that are spending $1,000 a month to get a coach when what they really need is a mentor, and that's something that should be happening inside the company that you work for. The team, the leadership team that you work under should be available to physically sit down with you and brainstorm with you and come up with ideas and help you execute and see what we can do to help you grow your business. Because if not, then what is the leadership of the company actually doing for you? And that's the difference with the retail, right? They have these layers of management where you're not really sure what they do. They drink coffee and they have meetings, but aside from that, what else are they doing that is worth the absorption of the income that you're bringing into the company? And so here, we've created a culture where the mentoring capacity or mentoring experience is part of it. And here's what I'll tell you about Craig. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, holidays, it doesn't matter. If you need him, doesn't matter if it's 11 o'clock at night. If he is awake, he will answer your call. He will sit there with you for hours on the phone. He will Zoom call you, walk you through stuff. And you get the same experience from the rest of the leadership here. That's just what we're about.
Yeah, I was gonna say I work all hours of the day. Sometimes I'll put my kids to bed because I got an 8 and a 7-year-old, and then I'll bang out some emails from 9:30 to 11 o'clock, and I'll just be emailing. I'm expecting it's not an urgent matter. I'm just emailing so that I have it done, and then hopefully the next day, Craig will respond. But he responds at that time to the point, and it's so bad now that I'm like in the email, this is not urgent. You do not have to respond tonight. Go to bed. and he's still there, like back and forth.
So again, we're energy driven people. So we both operate under this same mindset. And that is, there's a timeline or there's a space between that moment where you have created a question in your mind and the point where you actually will execute the information or truly need it, that we want you to take the input, be able to process it, make it your own, and formulate it for the specific conversation that you need to have, so that you're prepared versus just regurgitating something that someone else said.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the idea behind the rapid response thing.
I hear you.
Well, speed is everything, right? And I think giving people the information in the moment is key, so that they can, like you said, so they can use it quickly. The other thing related to that, what I love about this company is our goal is to grow. Healthy things grow. Healthy things need to grow, but we're not looking to be the biggest mortgage company on the planet. We want to grow to a size where we can maintain our layers of management and our access to each other as a team, without having to add more layers to support more people. Like it's sustained growth with the right people, and we're not for everybody for sure, but with the right people that fit here and we fit them. That's what I love about our direction, our focus.
Yeah, I think the LO that is entrepreneurial minded, that runs their business like a business and wants to have that freedom to do that, like it's just an absolute great model, for that.
Mm-hmm.
And you come in and you have the support, you have the resources, and there's a lot of companies out there that will talk about, hey, we've got if you're an entrepreneur, we have all the resources for you. It's a perfect spot. But I will tell you that, I've talked to other companies that have that, and they don't have the ops support that we do, right? We have some really incredible LOAs and ops people in-house that you wouldn't have access to at a lot of other places. Heck, I was at a retail shop that didn't even have access to that. They couldn't find me an LOA to work with, or a processor to process my files. So so you're talking about, like, when we say that, we can back it up, right? We have those things in place, and again, I go back to the technologies, having access to the best technology. We have in-house video editing. I just sent in and uploaded my first YouTube video the other day. And anybody that's on my Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn watching right now, you guys know I'm big on social media and making content. I can now come in and record my YouTube video, and I can send it off to a video editor, and they will edit it I no longer have to do that. I no longer have to pay for that. Like, that's a huge benefit in today's market, to have access to that. I mean, that's a big thing, So,
and our editors do a nice job. I mean, generally speaking,
yeah.
they'll turn it around in a few days. We've had realtor partners come in, and we record content back and forth with realtor partners, long form content, and then the editors cut it up into short form content, and we distribute those videos to our partners a week. It's been nice.
Yeah. It seems like in this day and age, with the way that the industry suddenly shifted, so many people felt paralyzed and weren't sure what to do. And they're used to posting pictures of what they're having for dinner or something like that on social media. So they feel like social media is something that is such, they feel like they can't say they got to be careful not to say the wrong thing, or they got to post a certain way, and it's got to be all these things, and really it doesn't. And we've got sufficient people here to help you work on short form content and get it edited for you to distribute, simply to keep yourself in front of people, to become an expert. It's a mechanism of communication. It's a backyard barbecue where you can tell people what you do. And that's an important part of building your business plan for the year. So, and that's actually another thing that we've started, is our business planning phase of the year, where we sit down with each originator independently. We send out a questionnaire for them to answer, and it's really just kind of an overview, but then we sit down with them individually and go through and help them kind of create a structure that backs all the way down to a set of daily tasks that you can complete, that includes some social media, to help you keep yourself moving towards your goal by the end of the year.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah, and
and I
that's the
will,
mentorship piece that you were talking about
yeah,
earlier,
Right.
right? It's activities, but then it's the one-on-one where you're customizing the activity to the person's individual skill set and personality, not just a to-do list.
Right. Business plan is never a to-do list simply because each individual's business is constructed differently. For example, Phil is very present in the social media scape, and he is in a specific market. And so the things that you put together to assist him in growing his business have to be constructed around tasks that have a direct line of business. I use this term with Brian a lot. A direct line of business. How does this equate to a direct line to business? And you have to be able to see that, and it's going to be different for every single person. Every single person. You're not going to take the introverted person and tell them to go to networking events every week that everyone's at a happy hour having something to drink and probably looking for business themselves. It's not going to be a straight line to business. You're going to feel awkward because you're introverted. You're going to stand in the corner and not want to drink. And there's not going to be communication, and you're going to feel like you're failing when it's not that you're failing. It's that you're in the wrong relationship at the moment. You're in the wrong space at the moment. So business planning has to be constructed under a mentoring environment so that you can find your way to the direct line to business that is specific to you as an individual.
Yep. And we're
And I-
taking some of that, some of those pieces out to the public, right? Like we do a lot of those types of things internally for our own team. We invest a lot of time. We're also taking bits and pieces of that to the public. I wrote the 22 business development, 22 business development ideas for loan officers ebook. So, and that's available to anybody. I post about it from time to time, and I get some DMs of people asking to receive it, and I send it off. But then included in that is my Calendly link, and I'll say, look, the ideas are one thing, but if you want to spend a few minutes and talk through these ideas, I'll do that with virtually anybody.
Right.
It only takes a few minutes, and we can create something specific to the person.
Right.
The other thing we do is, I mentioned earlier, is this workshop that we're hosting with Phil Treadwell, the other Phil. There's only two Phils. Phil Treadwell is the other one.
There's only two.
There's only two. There's only two that I know or care about. I'm just kidding. But that's going to be more of action planning. That's business development, but it's activities and action. And the same thing, those ideas will come out and people will execute. Some will execute, some won't. But same thing, the offer is, if you're struggling, jump in my Calendly and we'll spend 5 or 10 minutes. It's easy to vet these ideas out and customize it a little bit. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's that whole space where I think sometimes as people, we feel like if we share things with other people, we're giving away our secrets. And
Yeah.
that's actually an illusion, right? It's an illusion because what you're really doing is you're taking something that you may just have the tip of, like a portion of it, and the conversation with another individual can help you expand it into a tangible direct line to business, whether it's for yourself or for them, right? And they're in a different market or they're in a different sphere. That does not affect you, but you can learn from it, and their input can help you grow. So you create a synergy, sort of like a mastermind. Really what you're doing by distributing something like that and having conversations with people about the ideas in the book is you're one-on-oneing a mastermind idea, right? Where it gives you the ability to interact with other people, which actually creates expansion for you because you're giving. And by giving, other people give, and it creates synergy in the middle. And that helps everyone involved grow.
Yes. And some of the best coaches and mentors that I've met in my life, and including you guys here, are people that give, but you can also learn. The best coaches learn while they're coaching, right?
Right. Because you're not actually, it's kind of funny that I forget where I read it from, but there's the different stages of making something a second nature to yourself. The first one is just, learning, and then doing, and then actually teaching. Is the teaching is the stage at which you have internalized and made it second nature, and can create physical actions in the physical world that are a side effect of what you've learned. And then that actually then takes you into that space where the teacher or the student surpasses the teacher. And that happens once that person has learned it, done it, now teaches it, now executes it, second nature. They evolve, add to it, and become that much more. And that's what we're all after. And it doesn't have to be a competitive environment where you don't share and you kind of try to restrict everyone from that kind of thing. I'm constantly on social media. Every time I see somebody post a group, I'm like, I'll join, just so I can communicate and interact with people and see what they have to say, so that I can learn and I can become better at what I'm doing. And I'm sure you guys do the same, but
yeah. Well, so that brings up, just talking about, investing or giving out great ideas, and the company here with MFG, there's really two different types of loan officers, right? Okay, there's two different buckets. There's loan officers who are really good at marketing and business development. They can go out, they can get the business, like that's their thing. And then there's the other loan officer who's great guidelines, right? Structuring files, doing like the loan officering work, right? We have these kind of two buckets. And then there's what we call unicorns. And there's the LOs that can do both of those things at a really high level, okay? And that's very few loan officers. But what I love about what we have here at MFG is that we have Craig, who is unbelievably great at both, really. But the loan officering stuff, right? He knows how to like put the boots on the ground, go talk to people, bring in business, structure files, whatever you need, right? And then we have Brian, and Brian's been trained by some of the best people when it comes to marketing, social media management, content creation. I know this because we have met each other in a bunch of these different groups. And so we just have like leadership that knows how to kind of help both loan officers. So if you're really good at marketing and social media, but you maybe struggle with the loan officering side of the business, great. We got somebody that's going to be able to invest in you and help you with that. Now, if you're on the other side where you're great at loan officering and structuring deals and finding ways to get things done, but the marketing and the social media and the content and getting out there, meeting real estate agents, that's what you struggle with, well, great. We have people here that can help you with that. We have Brian. I have a consulting company called Level Up Your Content. I love to invest in other people. We have Cody. Cody's awesome at social media and content, and he's somebody that has a ton of training. We have the people here to help you we're at whichever bucket you fall in. And if you're the unicorn, awesome. We have a great platform for you to come roll your business right in, win on every single deal, and make a crap load of money.
Right. Yep. We also, aside from helping, and then even within that, there's levels. There's the folks that just are not going to be able to, so they need that supplemental support. So you can do that. There's the people that are going to bridge or just need somewhat of a connection to the other side, and we can help you with that. And then there's the people that will actually end up blending them together and figuring out the space themselves and doing really well at it. And we've really got all of those. We've got the folks that are advertising and they're on social media and they're doing a great job. And then we've got folks that sit at their coffee table in basketball shorts and close 150 to 180 million a year, who literally never leave their coffee table, working from home. And so and the other thing that's helpful about the variance of the styles of mentorship that we have is the fact that, I'm going to bite my tongue for saying this because I came to a very interesting realization yesterday. But our space is not a competitive one. The folks within are so sharing and so interactively ready to help each other, that there's no competition between each other. So, and the reason why I made the comment about biting my tongue is because I realized yesterday you still need some competitiveness. There still has to be some drive that comes from somewhere that drives you to get out of bed. But those can be other external motivating factors like your family or the things that you'd like to have in life and things like that. But I would prefer for it not to be trying to race against other people in the company, because competition creates separation. So you always have, aside from the leadership here to help you bridge the two different types of loan officers, you also have our entire spread of loan officers who are very uncompetitive and very willing to help and assist each other. We have chat communication systems for people to interact and ask questions all day long. And they're literally in there from 4 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock in the morning. And I know because I can hear my phone buzzing on my nightstand.
Sorry about that, by the way. Sorry for the 5 a.m. text.
Yeah, those are you for sure.
Yeah, you nut jobs up at work at 5 a.m. Crazy people.
But yeah, I mean, that was the goal when we started out, was to create a space where people could create a business for themselves, right? To be an originator, you have to be an entrepreneur. You have to have an entrepreneurial mindset and understand that you are the creator of what you're doing. And we're really just the platform that you're passing your business through. And so anything that we need to do to be able to help you facilitate that, that's what we're here for. And that's why we're not super big on over the top with the company branding or the company promotion of the company itself, is because we want the individuals to be able to grow and expand and have an identity of their own. But yeah, that's the last 19 years. That's what we've been after.
So you touched on something, you touched on a word, platform. Phil said platform a few minutes ago too. And I believe we've talked about this a lot. There's a trend in the industry moving to more of a platform model versus a big corporate model, right? The big corporate model has to feed the layers of management and the big infrastructure and all the massive departments. But the platform model is more like Amazon, right? Amazon doesn't sell anything. They connect buyers and sellers. So we're the Amazon of the mortgage industry, where people can plug into the conduit. So they've got legal, compliance, payroll, licensing. We deal with the audits, but they can really build and create their own thing. So that means for that producer you mentioned, Phil, earlier, that's really skilled at both sales and working on the deals, who is doing big numbers, wants to create their own brand. Maybe it's XYZ Mortgage Company powered by the Molitor Financial Group. So that's one scenario that works very well. The second scenario is real estate agents. I mean, we're talking to a few large real estate teams that want to open up their own mortgage company, don't know where to start. And we can do the same thing. We can create something, their own brand, and just power it all so that we can run the mortgage side of the business and they can focus on growth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I remember when I first got into the business, you never would really hear about individual loan officers. All you would hear about is companies and how much volume they did. And even until recently, so if you take some of the large companies, like there's one down the street from us, Z-Rate, we'll call it, great large company, right? But in the city of Chicago, which is their largest city in the country, you would only see a handful of individuals actually out there advertising. You wouldn't see much social media. However, you would see a sports field with the name of the company on it, and there was a lot of specific company branding. But then there would only be like a handful out of thousands of originators. You would only see a handful of specific people repetitively being marketed on billboards and things like that. And you think to yourself, how how is that possible? Shouldn't it be the other way around? Shouldn't it be you're an entrepreneur and the originators were always actually the source of the business unless you're a retail place. We've got people pounding the phones, calling people while they're having dinner about refinancing. The originators are the ones that bring the business in. And so the identity, the branding, the entrepreneurial power, the energy is actually coming from them. They're the ones that get up every day, go out there and create the business. So the day and age of the big box names is sliding. It's sliding for a couple of reasons. One, we've learned through social media that personal branding is so extremely important because people do business with people. They don't do business with companies. And if they do, a lot of times it's by mistake and it's based on price. For example, I needed to have my washing machine fixed. Okay, so I Googled and I looked for places and picked the place with the best price. When it comes to a mortgage, there's so much information. There's so much that's changed. There's so much that's going on. You find yourself in a situation where you want to work with individuals that are going to educate, walk you through the process, and feel like they have some skin in the game with getting you to the closing table and taking care of your family. So the big box, especially in our market where the costs have changed, credit reports have gone up 435%. 435%. All of the costs have continued to go up. And the problem with it is you have a big box with layers of management. You're not sure what they do, departments and things like that. And a lot of originators will feel that all those departments are support. They're not support because most of the time you don't even know what the folks are doing. You may see them at the company Christmas party. You might know what department they work in, or, there may be some attractive individual from the mailroom and you know who that is. But aside from that, the whole rest of the people in the building, you have no idea exactly what it is that they're doing. How can you then call them support? You really can't. In a mortgage transaction, it's pretty straightforward. You have your originator, you have your processor, you may have a loan officer assistant, and a closer. Those are really the maximum of the people in a given transaction from the lending standpoint that are going to participate in making this a smooth transaction for you. The big box, that day and age is coming and going because of the costs, because of the overhead of the excessive number of people having to affect the rates that are being put on the street. And the originators should be the ones that are making the most from the transaction because they're the ones that are branding themselves and getting out of bed and doing the work every day. So that's why we use the word platform, is because we're changing our role in what happens so that the business runs through us. That's really what it does.
I think that's important to hear from the founder and owner of a company, because Troy's somebody who has originated and understands, what that process looks like. And I think that's really important to keep in mind in a day and age where we now have reports, we have news articles that you can go check on Google of big mortgage company executives who all they talk about is how they need to cut originators comp, how they think originators make way too much money, and they're trying to find ways to reduce that instead of reducing all of the layers and the overhead that Troy just talked about.
What's interesting about that, and not to harp on a thing, but I think to myself, Craig is actually a big fan of like movies from the 80s. And there's this movie that he likes. It's called Secret of My Success.
It's a great movie. And
unfortunately, I've had to watch it so many times.
Michael J. Fox in that movie is incredible. Gosh, I love that movie.
However, if you pull back away from it for a second and you think about a dynamic of the movie, right? So in the 80s, which was kind of the foundation over the course of the past 30, 40 years of how corporations came to be, and the consciousness within them. The company had so many layers of executives that most people didn't know what each other did, to the point where Michael J. Fox took over an office and got his own business cards, got himself a nameplate, started going to meetings, and no one even knew that he shouldn't be there. No one knew that he was actually just the mail boy, and he actually started presenting ideas. So when you step away from it and you think for a second, okay, so these executives in a lot of the big box retailers are actually out there. I bought a jet. Okay.
Yep.
Did you just post that on social media? Like, I don't know. I just bought a $40 million lake house. Why do your employees know that? Why do your team members need to know that you just bought a $40 million lake house? I don't know. But you step away from it and you look back to that movie, Secret of My Success, with the layers of people, to where a mail boy was able to take over an office, order himself cards, start attending meetings and presenting ideas. And you realize that the modern retail shop is exactly like that. They have so many layers of management where a lot of those folks, what is it that you're doing? Did you work in the mailroom, order your own cards, put a name tag on your door, and just start going to meetings? What is it that you're actually contributing that makes it so that you feel that the originator who's out there on the street is getting paid too much to be out on the street?
Yep.
Meanwhile, you're absorbing, you're feeling your raw cost. Unless you're coming up with an idea that is a direct line to business, you're a cost. As an executive inside, and as you would walk down the hallway, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and you count the offices where there's people in there that are not originators. That's 1 cost, 2 costs, 3 costs, 4 costs, 5 costs, 6 costs. And those costs, they're all sitting on the back of the originator, who's the person that's out there dealing with the stress of getting a real estate agent to show up for a meeting after the fourth appointment's been scheduled, or the client who's shopping for a different rate, or whatever the circumstance would be. That the originators are the ones that are out there bringing the business in. They should be the ones getting paid the best. They should be the ones that are getting the respect. And it shouldn't be like Secret of My Success, where you've got layers of people getting paid and you can't even tell what it is that they do.
Yep. I think I'm going to have to see that movie again. I don't know that I've ever seen it.
Oh,
Maybe I watched it in 1987, but
yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, it's
Phil wasn't even born yet.
I was born in '84. What are you talking about?
Okay.
Me too. Yeah. No, it's just a general. The movie itself is a blueprint for what you see with a lot of retail companies in the mortgage world. Because at the end of the day, the way our industry works is you don't have quote unquote accounts, right? Like, let's suppose you're IBM. You have an account with some company that produces widgets where your networks run their widgets. So you keep having to, make modifications to the software. The original system costs this huge amount of money. It has to be serviced. It has all these different things that go into it. In origination, you simply have the originator out there selling a product that's typically obtained from a third-party entity, right? Where the guidelines are usually always the same. So what is it that all of those middle ranges of management are actually doing? In some of these cases, when we talk to originators, they have we've got an area manager, a regional manager, and a divisional manager. And I'm like, what?
Head of sales, president, owner.
Just branch manager.
So how exactly, like, how do those work out? Like, is a regional manager over a divisional manager over an area manager? Like, how do they do that alphabetically, or how does that work? and you realize, so you've got the originators portion of we've got a set thing. We've got one individual unit. Like, if you look at one unit, this is your mortgage. Here's your $400,000 purchase. And if you break it down to a one loan profit and loss, and you look at that situation, you say, okay, the originator is going to make X amount of basis points off of that. But on top of that, you've got secret of my success, including the mail boy in the end office who actually isn't actually a salesperson, who's given himself a raise and is occupying that office, is getting a portion of still more margin built on top. So what are all those people in all those offices doing, including the mail boy, that they should be causing your client to have a higher interest rate? And it filters all the way through. If you're a real estate agent, you're listening to this, listen to this. If you're working with mortgage people that do not believe in taking care of the client and getting them the lowest rate, you're hurting yourself. You may think to yourself, the rates don't matter as long as the deal gets done. And I'm going to disagree with you all day long, because your business is built on repeat clients. The typical client stays in a home, especially, well, in a metropolitan city, like Chicago, anywhere from 3 to 5 years. They move every 3 to 5 years. That means that if they're working with someone that's unnecessarily, we priced somebody out last week where the actual interest rate was a point higher. The rate was a point higher. That's tens of thousands of dollars. So real estate agent, understand that when you go back to sit down with those folks to talk about listing that property, there's a difference in how it's been paid down that correlates back to the original mortgage they got from the person that you weren't worried about what they were giving to your clients. So when you look at that, and you have to help that client determine, they're going to sit there and they're going to have a conversation with you. Well, we've only got X amount of equity. The mortgage didn't get paid down very much because this is what the rate was. So you're going to have to renegotiate your commission, or it's going to be tougher to sell, or your client's going to have to downsize in house or not have as much down payment. It complicates the future transactions. So if you don't have mortgage people that are thinking ahead, saying we need to put you into a circumstance, one of the things that Craig does with almost every client that he works with is says, once we close, like, we're going to make sure you get the best that's possible for your situation, right? We're going to get you the best that's possible for your situation. We're a conduit. We're a platform for all these lenders. We'll find the one that suits your situation and get you the best terms for your deal. But then on top of that, we're going to talk to you about ways to build equity without throwing lumps of chunks of cash at your mortgage. That's a whole separate conversation. But there's things you can do with the math of your mortgage and how it's paid, because mortgage interest accumulates, on a daily basis as you pass through the month. So if you alter how it's being paid or when the payment's going in, just that alone will accelerate the pay down of the mortgage. Mm-hmm. And a lot of folks are unaware of that. There's programs. By law, companies are required to have equity enhancement programs that give you the ability to pay your loan down faster. They're biweekly programs. When they do those programs, they recast or readjust the balance, lower your payment, and change the amount of interest that you're paying. So if you're used to paying $2,000, even when they do the reamortization for you on this biweekly program and lower the required payment you need to send in, you keep sending in the $2,000. By the time you decide to sell your house in 3 to 5 years, you may have decreased the balance of your mortgage by $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 simply by the math of the payment that originally worked with your budget to begin with. But just adding extra money to your payment doesn't do anything. I see a lot of mortgage people say, just add one payment a year. It doesn't work that way. And that's because your mortgage is a contract from the start. But those are all things that your mortgage person should be having with your client. So if you're a real estate agent, or if you're a mortgage person, your mentors should be teaching you how to do this stuff, because it's part of establishing a stable business, sustainable business, not only with the real estate agents that you work with, to make sure that the next transaction goes smoothly and has as much equity as possible available, but also so that everyone is aware that you know what you're doing and that you're there to take care of people.
And that's a nugget. If you're a loan officer watching or listening to this, I want you just to go back about 120 seconds and listen to what Troy just talked about. He just gave you an incredible nugget, business development opportunity to have a conversation with real estate agents today. And he's talking about how making sure that their clients get the lowest interest rate will impact their business down the road. Because when they go to list that home for their client, they're going to be in a different equity position if they're referring out to the right loan officer with the right company. And if you're not in that position to where you can have that conversation because of the interest rates, send me a DM.
Yeah.
Send Brian a DM. Let's talk, because we can put you in that position to be able to have that conversation and have that leverage and have that value proposition that you don't have right now.
Right. But real estate agents with these buy downs, and I everybody on the call may disagree with me. Here's my thought on buy downs. We know that the coming years is going to create a unique market where the rates are going to come down and potentially the values of homes are going to go up. However, we want to put ourselves in the best position possible. So going into a transaction, I would never this would be my advice. Loan officer, here's a conversation that you want to have with the agents that asking you for a flyer on buy downs just because it's trendy. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to not increase the purchase price to pay for those buy downs because I want the equity in the property. I want you to retain the equity in the property. So because all you're doing is borrowing against the future. You took X amount of your equity because they raised the price to give you the credit to do the buy down. All you did was borrow your own money from the future and supplement your payment now. The interest is still accumulating at your true interest rate. But what happens 6 months from now if the rates change and you have the ability to lower your rate? Well, you took away some of your equity by inflating the price of the home in order to get the buy down. So it doesn't make any sense. So I would always say to people, no buy down. Get the best price you can, work with an agent that's going to help you get the best price they can. And there's a lot of educated, get up every day, do the work, real estate agents who will help you get great prices. And once you have that, go into a biweekly program where you can pay the mortgage down. A lot of originators don't realize this, but when your client sits down, the mortgage has already been determined as far as the payback goes. It's bell curved, so all the interest is collected at the front. So if you are simply mailing in additional payments, all it's doing is chipping little amounts off the back end. It's not changing how the loan is amortized at all. It's not changing the true structural breakdown. And that's why they have you sign a payment schedule, is because you're agreeing that even if you mail in additional payments, really, this is your payback schedule and this is what it's going to look like. So you go into a biweekly or enhancement program where they take a portion of the payment every other week, half the payment, and they're re-amortizing it as they go along, and it decreases. It'll take a 30-year mortgage and pay it off in 15 years. So you do that from day one. So no buy down, retain your equity. Do not go out and take a home equity loan out. Worst idea ever. And focus on the math of the mortgage with a biweekly payment so that when that real estate agent goes to sell the house, you can explain to them, these are the things I did so that it's set up so that when you go in there, there's equity in the house and we can go get them an even better house on the next go around.
Yeah, it's being smart with managing the mortgage, right? There's so many loan officers out there that are just regurgitating what they heard on a webinar or they saw somebody else post about a 1.0 buy down, think that's a great idea. But when you really think about it, I mean, these are the things we talk about here, is what's actually best for the client, not what's the greatest marketing program out there right now.
Those are gadgets and gizmos to get people to
Yeah.
think that something's happening that's really not happening. It's
Mhm.
just like, and it's, sorry if I'm getting off topic at all. I'm on a
No,
roll. I know I haven't.
This is the topic.
You know, it drives me nuts. Our TikToks that tell you home equity loans are the thing to do. Absolutely not. Protect your equity right now. One thing that we know is that we're in an unstable environment from an economic perspective. The last thing you want to do is treat your house right now like it is an ATM machine for you to take money out to do whatever random things you're going to do with it, which most of the time usually is not something productive like improving the home. And if you do, again, this is where you go back to your real estate agent and say, I've got $30,000 that I took out from a home equity loan. What are the best things that I can do to my property to assist with increasing the true value of the house? Because painting and carpet is not it. So
Right.
you may enjoy the paint, you may enjoy the carpet yourself, but the minute that someone else buys your house, the first thing they're doing is painting and getting rid of the carpet because they don't know what's been going on that carpet. So, you know, you have a conversation, but my mindset always is stay away from home equity loans, focus on the mortgage, build the equity so that if the time comes for you to make a transition, you've put your realtor partner in the absolute best position possible to be able to have flexibility with negotiating a great price for the people that are coming in, and you can make that transition very seamlessly. But
I love it.
that's mentoring. People should be sitting down with you. If you're an originator and you don't have leadership that's sitting down having conversations like that with you, and all they're doing is giving you flyers for buy downs, you're in the wrong space.
Yeah, and what I love about all this too is these are tips and things we share every Friday when we have these calls, right? Every Friday we go live and we share some things here that we, share internally. But if somebody's interested in going deeper, please do reach out, and there's a lot more we do internally too. Sorry, I couldn't leave without jumping into a little commercial or how people can learn more here. But this has been great, guys. I really appreciate you both taking some time this morning. We're going to do this again next Friday at 10 a.m. Watch for the links to come out. They're always posted on our LinkedIn pages, our social media platforms, all platforms. So watch for it.
Okay.
Beautiful. Thanks, guys. It was great to see you.
I appreciate you guys' time this morning. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.